Okay.
Okay.
So the even reading was that one.
Chairman, as chairman, when they're here, that bought that property and built that home there before.
Debbie.
That was a cul-de-sac.
Hello.
It was. And James,
Steve Cerubus,
yeah,
Mallory Carmen.
that doesn't mean you
Yeah.
like.
Excellent. Motion to approve the agenda.
So moved.
Matt and Steve. All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
Hi.
Motion
Aye.
carried. Okay, thank you. Approval of minutes from July 9th.
Motion approved.
Steve. Melanie, no, we didn't know that was going to. Oh,
I'll
okay,
second.
okay, back for a second. All in favor of the minutes of the document for the July 9th meeting, saying aye.
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 Carried.
Hi.
So we need to do, probably, a motion to open the meeting, or are we giving you a presentation first?
Yeah, we'll get started first. I can tee it up.
Yeah, please. District 26, please.
Yes, so, you might recall that we've had some development agreement with here these past few months. We've got the Southwest Wood project that was approved recently, the JBS project and the New Land project, and each of those projects do come with TIF assistance and require the creation of new TIF districts. So that's what we're doing here today, is to consider the approval of these new TIF districts. We'll take them one by one. As part of this process, there is a public hearing. The public has been notified of this meeting, and has the opportunity to speak. Before we open the floor to allow the public to speak, we thought it might be useful for everyone to have the presentation first.
Absolutely.
So we've been working with Ellers, our consultants, on the creation of the TIF district, and they prepared a presentation on each district.
Excellent.
So if we're ready to go, we can turn it over to those guys.
Yes, you're ready to go.
We are starting with 1026.
Yep. Please.
Thank you. I'm Todd Taves from Ellers, and I'll be presenting TID 26. Just a clarification, Matt, are you going to open the hearing after each of the presentations, or do you want us to run through all three sequentially followed by the hearing?
I think we'll do each one individually.
Okay. So you've been provided with a copy of the project plan, and what we've prepared for each district is a much shorter slide presentation. So I will cover the highlights of TID 26, and then my colleagues will cover 27 and 28. This was a tag team effort putting these together, and we've got one more in the hopper to follow here in a month. So with respect to TID number 26, this is generally located on West Mason Street to the west of I-43. So this is the area that's referred to as Southwest Woods. The development agreement had been entered into earlier this year, and the primary project within this TID is the extension of street and other public utilities to serve a new residential development. So the nature of this district is that it is being created on a finding that at least 50% of the area is in need of rehabilitation or conservation. And within that statutory definition, one of the criteria that falls under that is basically a program of public improvements. So that would be relative to the street extension I mentioned to serve the new development. But then also another criteria is the essentially the repair or the rehabilitation of buildings. And so we've included some existing commercial territory fronting on West Mason Street. While there's nothing proposed immediately, this does allow the latitude, should something come up, that the city could be engaged from a TIF perspective to help facilitate that and realize potential gains in value of those existing properties. So all told, we're about 62 acres. There's a requirement that wetlands be netted out. We do have a small wetland area within this footprint, so that is excluded. And this type of district has a maximum statutory life of 27 years. So in terms of the costs that we've included in the plan, we've got $3.6 million for the public infrastructure for the residential development. And then more as a placeholder, we've got 2.4 million for just general other public improvements that could include pedestrian improvements, park amenities, potential site acquisition, and stormwater improvements throughout the area and within an area 1/2 mile from the district's boundaries, which is a permissible statutory cost. Any project that effectively you could do within the district, you can do within an area 1/2 mile outside the district, provided there's a benefit connection to the TID geography. And then also 2.4 million in development incentives. And again, this is strictly a placeholder. It was based on the cash flow projection. So there are no incentives that have been approved at this time with respect to these commercial areas. But this is again, an authority for the city should a property owner come forward, demonstrate a verified need and a gap that the city, again, could get engaged in redevelopment efforts within that area. When we put numbers on these, all told, we're looking at about 8.6 million in potential project costs. Again, it's really the phase 1 numbers that are the more firm numbers, with phase 2 being the phase 2 and the ongoing, with the exception of the administrative costs, being more speculative. Again, placeholders as the opportunity arises, but we do plan to proceed with the public improvements this year. The city will be financing that, so we've got estimated interest on that debt as well as financing costs. In terms of the layout, this is the street extension coming from the West Mason frontage road through this corridor and coming back out on Hobart cul-de-sac here. This is the footprint of the single-family area with 21 residential lots and 8 single-family attached townhomes. The valuation from the Southwest Woods project is these 3 numbers in construction years 26, 27, and 28. These are tied to the development agreement in terms of a minimum valuation guarantee. And I should say that part of the 28 number also has some assumed commercial redevelopment in, and this 3 million and the 2 million are again assumed commercial redevelopment along West Mason. Those may or may not happen at those levels within that time frame. It's strictly included for feasibility projection purposes. So this gives us the total tax increment we would anticipate collecting if the district were to remain open its entire 27-year life. When we wrap that up in an overall cash flow exhibit, we've got that 8 million in tax increment coming in over the district's life. The development agreement does have a provision where if the increment generated from the residential development is less than the city's debt service, the developer is required to make a shortfall payment. And we have modeled that in because based on where current interest rates are and our estimated costs for the city's financing, we do expect that there will be a payment the developer will be required to make on an annual basis. So we have that city debt. And then here's our 2.3, 2.4 million, essentially the placeholder for other types of public improvements and development incentives. So based on this, we're simply showing that the district would remain open its entire 27-year life. Likely it will need to remain open through at least 2044, which is the final maturity of the anticipated city debt. Whether it would remain open after that or potentially close will strictly be dependent on what else may happen in the district through the end of its expenditure period and how much, if any, additional costs that the city may incur. So that is the summary timeline, which is the same for all 3 of these TIDs. So I'll just cover that quickly as part of TID 26. We've had the Organizational Joint Review Board meeting yesterday. Assuming this body elects to advance this, it will go to the council on the 27th. And then back to the Joint Review Board for final consideration at a September 3rd meeting. And I will stop there and happy to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, before we open the public hearing, any comments from RDA committee? Or questions? If not, I'll entertain a motion to open the comment for public hearing. Steve? Second. All those in favor of opening up the meeting, signify by saying aye. Opposed?
Aye.
So is there any public comment regarding to the creation of KID 26. Is there any public comments with regard to the creation of KID 26? Any public comments in regard to the creation of KID 26?
You wanna make it?
Okay, please, go ahead, please.
I'm not sure if this is appropriate time to ask.
It is.
I heard him make comments regarding,
Can we, just for 1 second, we'll need your name and address for the comments, if that's okay.
Carol DeClerc, DECLERC,
And address.
2100 9th Street.
Thank you.
Please.
I heard him make a reference to the remediation of the stormwater. And I just, am not familiar with what that means, or I guess really my question is, does that mean more stormwater going into the Beaver Dam Creek?
You know, I don't think we have an answer for that now, but I can tell you that any development that takes place, there's gonna be a whole stormwater management plan that's gonna be needed to be submitted and approved.
Okay.
That they happen, so I guess I can't comment on where that water may go.
I had
but
it
it's part of the
covered,
plan, but
but-
it'll have to be a plan submitted to do that.
Our concern is, of course, as we indicated before, we already deal with flooding. Whenever there's a storm, there's, like, I have pictures that, you know, at like, how wide do you say that? Crick, Gary?
60 feet sometimes.
So if you're in our living room and looking at the creek, what usually is, you know, just this wide is now 60 feet
Right,
wide.
right.
And it's so fast that we can't leave our dog out, because if he would get into it, he would be swept away. So. That was my question. Thank you.
Good question. Excellent. Any other comments from the public? If not, particularly only two, I think you can close that. Yeah,
Close the public
yeah, we'll close the public hearing. And I go back to the agenda. And that would be presentation of public in regard to tax district 27, KID 27. Please, presentation.
Yep, so ready for TID 27, Eller's team when you're ready.
Awesome, thank you. So good evening or good afternoon, Harry Allen with Ellers. We're talking about TID 27 now. So this one's a little bit different. This one's going to be a blighted type district. So a similar type of finding to the last one in the sense that this is a 27-year district. But we are classifying at least 50% of the total area of the district as blighted. So the majority of the parcels are deemed as blighted, either due to the existing structures on those parcels or the lack of structures due to prior demolition. So there's a parking lot to the north end that's being included as blighted, and then all but these three parcels here in the middle have existing structures that are towards the end of their useful life or just in poor repair and are being designated by the city as blighted. The boundaries of the district, this is located just east of the river, primarily along Cherry Street and north of East Walnut Street. In total, this area makes up around 2.9 acres, with 2.4 of that total acreage being designated as blighted. This probably looks very familiar to everybody on the call, given that TID 24 was created just a few years ago. That district was created as a mixed use type district, and the projects contemplated within that district have lagged. So the city is now going through to create a new district as a different type of district. So we're creating as a blighted district now versus the 20-year life of a mixed use. So you're adding those additional 7 years of revenues, and then you're kind of restarting that clock as well. So that existing TID 24 will continue to exist, and it has some parcels to the west here that were not included within this new district. The purpose of TID 27 is really to provide developer incentives for the two projects listed here, so by Nova Green Bay and 222 Cherry Street, as well as some potential additional projects that could be happening in the future. The only one that has an existing agreement right now is at Nova Green Bay. That does call for 8.5 million in upfront developer incentives, as well as an estimated pay-go incentive, this 10.67 million here. That is inclusive of 222 Cherry Street, as well as some illustrative other development. We'll break that down a little bit more in the cash flow here in a moment. There's also included within this project plan an estimated 4 million in streetscape improvements. The majority of these will be within the half-mile surrounding the district boundaries, with a small portion of the streetscape improvements on Cherry Street falling directly within the boundaries themselves. So breaking down those proposed project costs a little bit more, developer incentives are listed here under number 1. Is Nova Green Bay. That is the largest one. This is the one with that existing agreement. That is estimated at around 14.2 million in total incentive. So that includes the 8.5 million of upfront, as well as an estimated around 6 million in pay-as-you-go incentive. 222 Cherry Street is still in negotiations, but we've modeled that out at 4.5 million on a pay-go basis. And then future projects, we just have modeled out at potentially 500,000 if they should be necessary. Those would be subject to a development agreement moving through the city and being approved by the council. Item number 2 here are the streetscape improvements. So in total, there's around 4 million of streetscape improvements included within the plan. Those are primarily for Washington Street, Cherry Street, Walnut Street, and then some future projects that could be needed. Item number 3 here through 5, those are all the ongoing expenses. So item number 3 is a financing cost, so the interest costs that will have to be paid to upfront that incentive for Nova Green Bay. And then financing costs, those are also related to taking out the debt for that upfront incentive. And then item 5 is ongoing planning and admin cost for the district. So in total, around 32.2 million of potential cost. Diving into the projects just a little bit more, the proposed uses, there's 2 primary projects here. So 221 Cherry Street, this is an 8-story mixed-use building that's going to have 268 market rate apartments and some first floor commercial. 222 Cherry Street, there'll be a 5-story addition to an existing retail and office building with 61 market rate apartments. And then these projects at 227 East Walnut and 109 North Adams, these are potential. They could pop up at some point over the 27-year life of the district. These would include mixed-use development with residential and/or commercial uses. The proposed improvements outside of the pay-go incentives are these streetscape improvements per the existing streetscape improvement plan of the city for Washington, Cherry, and Walnut. Looking at the projected incremental collections of the projects we just went over, using the current city tax rate and a 1% economic appreciation factor, we're estimating around 28.3 million of total revenues within this district. And then I know the numbers are really tiny here, but this is our cash flow model. On the left, we have those 28.3 million of tax incremental revenues coming into the district, and then 11.2 million of borrowing proceeds for that upfront incentive, as well as streetscape improvements. And then there's some capitalized interest baked into there as well, just given the lag and when development happens, when it gets assessed, and then when that finally turns into tax increment, there will be a few year period there where this district is not producing any revenues, but you have debt outstanding. We are modeling 3 debt issues here. So that first one would be for the first portion of the upfront incentive, around 5 million. The second borrowing here is for streetscape improvement projects to the tune of around 750,000. And then the 2026 borrowing would be for that final 3.5 million of upfront incentive. The 3 pay-go development incentives here, the first one is modeled for that Nova Green Bay project. That we're not estimating a payment made to them until 2043. And actually in the interim, we're expecting a shortfall payment per that development agreement, given that we're estimating that their actual tax increment that they pay on that property will be lower than the debt service that the city is taking out for their incentive. So if there is a mismatch there, the agreement does allow the city to charge them a shortfall payment. So we are projecting that that shortfall payment will be needed to be used. So once that shortfall falls off, they'll be subject to some type of PAYGO reimbursement on the back end of the district. 222 Cherry Street, we have that modeled out, projecting around 4 million of total PAYGO incentive available there. And then the future projects could support 500,000. The streetscape improvement projects, we have 700,000 being spent in the early years of the district, with potential another 600,000 available on the back end of the district, and then the financing costs and ongoing admin costs. So in total, we're looking at using all 27 years of this district to pay for the project costs contemplated within it. That's everything I had on TID 27.
Questions, comments?
Sharon Schumacher is included in that fifth district.
Yeah, but that's the only area before I feel like the future 500,000. What you're ready at.
Right, we don't have an agreement, a development agreement with that developer, or that's just a planning option. But they did bake in some opportunity for additional PAYGO potentially for that project. Should hopefully that move forward.
Joanne, I have a question. So, we will, we made a motion before to open up the public comment. We never really closed that motion, so are we still open for public comment? So we can do a motion for this tip.
Well, we can keep it open.
Okay, we never closed, that's what I thought. All right,
Right, if it's noticed for public hearing, don't really have to go through a motion of opening before, but.
thank you.
Mhm.
Right, so we are open for public comment regarding the creation of taxing in District 27. We are open for public comment regarding the creation of TID 27. We are open for public comment in regard to the creation of TID 27. If not, we will close the hearing, the public hearing. I'm very sure. I'm trainable. That's debatable, right? Anyway, all right. Next one, TID 28, presentation, please. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Casey Griffiths with Ellers, and I'll be presenting here for TID 28. So TID 28 is a rehabilitation district similar to TID 26. As was stated before, it requires under statute at least 50% of the area to be included in the district as zoned for rehabilitation and conservation. As you can see, this area is bounded by Main Street to the east, Limekiln Road to the west.
Sorry to interrupt, just to let you know, I'm looking at a different screen. I think.
Files.
Probably just needed to swap monitors.
Now, is that better?
Yes.
There we go.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, sure. Sorry about that. So the total area within the boundary of the district is approximately 65.5 acres. This also as part of the project plan, it excludes wetland acres of 8.9 and 6.63 acres of right of way. That nets out to 55.9 acres in total. And out of those 55.97 acres, 49.36 is designated as rehabilitation. So it meets the statutory requirement of needing to be at least 50% rehabilitation or conservation. As with 26, TID 26, this is also a 27-year maximum life. The district purpose is to pay for public infrastructure and projects and developer incentives. This is for a project being headed by Gorman and Company in Reval 49. It includes 5.5 million in public infrastructure and park improvements, as well as 9.8 million in potential developer incentives. The proposed project cost, as you can see, there's one phase that we've modeled out for this particular TID. That's the public infrastructure and park improvements. That includes right-of-way and streetscape work, sidewalks, and pathways. 5.5 million of cost estimated there. And then interest on long-term debt. The city will need to finance the cost of the projects. So the interest is shown as 3.2 million. Developers incentives are modeled at 9.8 million. This is a potential, again, developer incentives and would only be feasible, will only be if the city meets the feasibility requirements as well as the general requirements of developers agreement that the developer will enter into with the city. Financing costs total 150,000, and ongoing administrative and planning costs for the district are $214,655. Total cost associated with this is 18.9 million. The estimated timing, the public infrastructure is estimated to begin in work in 2025, and ongoing cost through a portion of the retirement of the debt in 2044, and developers incentives and financing costs going through the end of the TID life. The proposed uses for this TID include a single-family and multifamily residential development project, which equates to 225 units. That's shown at the bottom of the TID here in this shaded area. The additional public improvements that are proposed along the red dotted lines are right-of-way and street and sidewalk improvements. The proposed park improvements on Imperial Lane to the north here, and then a proposed park and community farm that will be to the west of the proposed residential development. The incremental value projected for this district totals 39.3 million. We've estimated the first 2 years of these, the value being added in construction year 2026, value year 2027, and construction year 2027 and value year 2028. The total tax increment that'll be generated by this district is shown here in the right-hand column. In total, we've projected this district to, with a future value increment of just a little bit over $19 million. As you can see, the tax rate here is being modeled as being declining over the years of the TID. We've been seeing that in most other districts throughout the state. This is a pretty common thing to see the tax rate declining due to an increase in overall valuation for districts. The projected cash flow on the left-hand side here are those tax increments that were shown on the last slide, again totaling out to just over $19 million. Debt proceeds of 6.4 million. This includes the debt that is needed to handle the public infrastructure costs. We're projecting one debt issuance in 2025 in this middle column here under projected expenditures. Principal is shown here in this column, as well as interest in this column here. As of note, because of the lag in terms of when the increment is available and to when it can start paying the debt, the city will need to make interest-only payments for the first 3 years of the district, with the first principal payment coming in 2028. Also shown here are developer incentives. Those developer incentives begin in 2028 and go through the life of the district. Total expenditures on the final column here. And as you can see, this is the cumulative balances for the district. As with the other districts, this TID 28 is modeled out to have expenditures going through the end of the life of the district in 2052. Again, approval schedule is similar to the other two TIDs that we've discussed this afternoon, so I won't go into much detail there. Are there any questions?
If not, we are open for public comment regarding creation of tax increment District 28 and adoption of the project plan. We are open for public comment in regards to creation of TID 28 and adoption of the project plan. We're open for public comment in regard to the creation of TID 28 and adoption of the project plan. No public comment. I don't entertain a motion that we close the public hearing. Steve? What? Matt? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Very good. Public hearing is over. Go back to the meeting order of business. It's over here. Regular order of business, consideration, possible action to adopt the resolution establishing the boundaries and approving the project plan for attacking the District 26. Questions, comments? If not, entertain a motion.
I would make a motion that we adopt the resolution establishing TID 26.
Second.
Second by Debbie. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Excellent, motion carried. Regular business number 2, consideration of possible action to adopt the resolution establishing the boundaries and approving the project plan for taxing in District 27. District 27. Questions or comments in regard to the agenda item? If not, I entertain a motion. Steve,
Also.
second by Matt. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried. Agenda item number 3, consideration of possible action to adopt the resolution establishing boundaries and approving the project plan for taxing in the District 28. Questions, comments?
One question on the boundaries. It appears that Croc Center is in the boundaries. Is there a specific reason for that? I'm assuming you're not contemplating work there, or was there a specific reason? You were included, or vice versa, not to?
Sure, so it's not contributing anything to the tax rolls currently, so it can't hurt anything.
Got it.
It does allow us to extend that half-mile boundary for public improvement.
Yep.
And should, it is a pretty large property at the moment, so should they decide in the future to section off a piece of the land and develop it privately.
Same with the school district property.
Yes.
Who knows, in the future, that might bring. For the boundaries.
Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, I entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion. That we approve the project plan for TID 28.
Okay, a motion by Matt, second by Steve. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Motion carried, thank you. Number 4, consideration of possible action to approve a 3-month extension to the development agreement granted to Deals Development and Partnership Capital for the site located at 4.5 South Barrett Street.
That'll make me, Gary.
Yes, please.
Last year around this time, the RDA approved a development agreement for the site at the 445 South Broadway for a single family, 3-bedroom, 1.5 bath home. During this time, the developer was also working on a site, in another area of, the city of Green Bay. And they got, a little bit delayed with their contractors. So they broke ground actually today. So they are requesting to have an extension into their development agreement for 3 months. So it would go from September 30th to December 30th.
And you still feel very good about the project?
Yes, I'm fine.
Yep. Questions, comments?
Yeah, just a question. Why, if ground has been broken, why do we need an extension on the development agreement?
Because the development agreement was only good till September 30th of this year was when they were supposed to have occupancy. But because he broke ground, he couldn't break ground till now, he needs that additional 30 days to be able to get the bill.
And the sense is there'd be occupancy by end of the year.
Pretty good.
That's
Yeah, Ken Wilson is online, so if you guys do have any questions, he definitely could answer those as well.
I don't know if we're planning to have it wrapped up in occupancy by end of the year, then I don't have questions.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I do have a comment. This is Ken.
Motion to open up meeting, please. Steve. Matt,
I'll make the motion.
second, sorry, yeah, second. So, all those in favor of opening up the meeting, please, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Yeah, please, go ahead.
Yeah, so we're actually asking for the extension to be until the end of January of next year. And that's just the building portion of the development agreement. We will still have a year after that to get the home occupied.
Oh. Okay.
There doesn't seem to be a on that.
Our development agreements go for 1 year. At the end of the year, the project needs to be completed and occupancy permit issued. So
Okay,
so the 90-day extension would be out for the initial, would be extending the initial development agreement.
I thought the verbiage in the agreement said that once completed, we would have a year to get to an owner occupied family or person.
And I don't think we're gonna need a year to sell that building, do you?
Oh, no, not at all, not at all. I'm just saying what's in the development agreement, not at all.
Yeah, the certification of occupancy is the document you'll get from inspection, which will say that it can be occupied and you can sell it. I think, when do you think you'll need to have, how much time will you need until it's done with construction?
We have it planned out to be completed mid-December, but we're asking until the end of January just for a buffer.
Okay, so then if we were to give that extension, like, say, the end of March, you should be able to sell that within a couple of months, right?
Of course.
Okay, I mean, I would be okay with recommending that the DA would go until the end of March,
So 6-month extension.
like a 6-month extension instead of 3.
Okay.
So the bottom line, we need to approve a 6-month extension, right?
Correct.
Okay. Good, committee, you know with that?
That project still applies.
Okay. I guess I entertain a motion in regard to the 6-month extension.
Close the-
Oh, I'm sorry. We got to close the open session. First of all, motion and second to go back to regular order of business.
Motion. In second.
Motion and second to go back to regular order of business. All those favor saying aye.
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 Okay, now we're back to regular order of business. Now I entertain a motion in regard to the 6-month extension.
6-month extension.
I'll make the motion for the 6-month extension to the development agreement for 445 South Fair Street.
Second.
Second by Debbie. Questions or comments in regard to the motion? If not, all in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Thank you. Good luck, Ken. Now you're got everything under control.
Thank you.
Consideration of possible action to approve a 1-year development agreement to NeighborWorks Green Bay for the site located at 1308 East Walnut Street.
That's gonna be, that will be me also. So back in May, the RDA awarded a 6-month planning option to NeighborWorks for the development of a 2-unit owner occupied townhome. Each unit consisting of 3 bedrooms, 2 and 1/2 bath, and a 2-car garage. At that time, it was currently zoned office residential, so they were gonna be required to get a conditional use permit. On July 22nd of this year, the planning commission did approve the conditional use permit. Therefore, the developer is now requesting a 1-year development agreement. They're going to offer to purchase the land for the 22,520. This is an adopt a home program with NeighborWorks. And this will also be in conjunction with the 24-25 Bridges Construction Program that is done through with the Green Bay School District. So again, we're just requesting that we're able to approve the 1-year development agreement to NeighborWorks for the construction of this 2-unit building.
Questions, comments, please.
And on the map, this looks like it's an open, empty lot. Is that?
It is.
It is, okay.
Mhm.
It's always exciting when they do these projects with the school system. That's neat. We're not paid for kids. Okay, any other questions or comments?
No.
If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make the motion.
A motion by Matt.
I'll second it.
Second by Melanie. Questions or comments in regard to the motion and a second? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried, thanks. Number 6, consideration with possible action to approve a 30-day planning option to Mike Butzes for the development of an industrial building on the site located at 1219 South Maple Street.
That'll be So 1209 South Maple Street was purchased back in 2014 with the Neighborhood Enhancement Funds. This is zoned, special purpose residential light industrial. This area here is surrounded by industrial buildings. So he is requesting to be able to, go into a 30-day planning option. This is to just wrap up final details, making sure that, staff is comfortable with the type of build that he would be doing there. This is, so he would be able to run his lawn care, snow removal business. This would be a 37 by 120 all steel building. We are working with him on just grade of the steel and stuff being used there. He is offering to purchase lot at the 18,500 that we are asking. This project is also dependent on him selling his property on Lowell Drive, as this is part of a Starker exchange where they already do a sale and they have to return their money and do another investment within a period of time
Yes.
to eliminate that additional tax. So we're asking for the 30-day planning option to be awarded.
Questions?
In the
comments?
building on here, because there's a next agenda item, and it's the same person.
It's the same
very
person.
Close by, is it the same building, or is it different buildings on these? Is
It's-
it like, hey, I'll do one of these, but not two, or?
No, we'll I can kind of mush these all together. The 1209 South Maple, when you look at the GIS map, it's surrounded by businesses. And there's a whole bunch of other industrial buildings there, so we felt that we didn't need as much facade as we do with the 1200 South Broadway. Now, it's basically the same building. The only difference is it's 1200 South Broadway, we're gonna be requesting more, windows. We would like to see the stone up to a certain level, and then they could have a higher quality of steel throughout out there, and then into the facade coming off into Broadway, just looking a little bit nicer. And that's just because it's right on a corner. Lots of traffic,
Yep.
we'd like it to look just a little bit better.
Absolutely.
So they're basically the same building. He's running his business out of the 1209 South Maple Street. And then he would be leasing out the one on the 1200 South Broadway.
Two separate lots,
Two separate lots,
Yep.
two separate
Motion.
motions.
Separate intents.
Yeah.
Got it.
Okay, very good. Good question. Any other questions in regard to the project on 1209 South Maple Street? Good, done, I'll entertain a motion. To 1209 South Maple Street. The plan house, 30-day plan house.
So moved.
Steve,
Second.
second by Matt. Questions or comments regarding the motion? If not, all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Now, in regard to the 1200 South Broadway. This one,
Yep, same situation. The only things that we are requiring it to be different is, again, you can see that it is on that corner lot there. So there are some additional requirements that we're asking, is just a different, a little more upgrade of the facade, on the front and the side, and then on the opposite side, one more step, will be a privacy fence for the home / business that is on the south side of the lot. He is still requesting a 30-day planning option, and then he would be purchasing again this for the 14,700 we're asking, and also dependent on the Starker exchange that he's doing with his personal property, another property that he has.
bottom line, Rhonda, you feel good about the project?
Yes, I've been in contact with, the attorney, the real estate attorney that he's working with as well. And he's handling the Starker exchange, paperwork, all that kind of stuff that needs to be done, so, yeah, I feel comfortable with it.
Questions or comments? In regard to project for 1200 South Broadway, 38 going option. If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve the 30-day planning option for 1200 South Broadway.
I'll second.
Second. Okay, there's a motion and a second in regard to approving the 30-day planning option located at 1200 South Broadway. All those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
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 Aye, motion carried. Thanks. Excellent job. Number 8. Thanks, Melanie. Number 8, consideration of possible action to grant permission to the development director to approve the 30-day planning options for developments on RDA-owned infill lots with no more than 2 units.
All right,
Cheryl.
I'll handle this.
Yeah, please, Cheryl.
So we just approved the 30-day planning options, right? Where the
Yes.
staff is actually gonna continue to work on projects, and you will see them again for development.
Right.
At the point that you come to terms on design and all these fun things. I would just like the ability to maybe okay these 30-day options, so then you guys just can see them one time when the project's all set to go, we have full application process and whatnot, so I think it would be time saving and easier to do that. It also, we wouldn't have to wait till the next RDA meeting to do this planning option, so
Right,
trying to streamline process.
absolutely.
I would, could you plug them into the director's report? All about
Yep.
that.
Yep.
That'd be good. Yeah.
Issue the 30-day planning
Stay
option.
there, yeah.
Absolutely, yep.
Good idea. What director group thing?
I'm certainly support.
The motion and second?
Yeah, motion, yeah.
Okay, the motion and second to grant permission to the development director to approve 30-day planning options for development on RD1 infill lots with no more than 2 units. Kind of streamline the process and keep things over.
It's all agenda.
All those, yeah, right. All those in favor of the motion and second, please indicate by saying aye.
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 Motion carried. Thanks. Thank you. Excellent. Thank you. Number 9, consideration of possible action to approve a 2-year option to purchase that includes an approval development agreement requirement for Article 6-475, taken lot 1634 6th Street, to utilize it in consideration for purchase of property by the city.
So the city's actively negotiating on a property right now, and that will include this property that owns on 6th Street. So we're looking for approval to be able to include this into the negotiations for the other parcel. And if you have more questions for me, we probably need to go on closed session.
This makes sense. Sure. What group think?
And so Cheryl, what you're seeking at this point is not a specific price. Just hey, I want to have the right to potentially use this piece of property in a negotiation that involves other stuff.
Well, but I think the RDA, is that correct, or?
It's a little bit more than that, so it's essentially granting an option, on the property itself. Contingent on an approved development agreement, so this property would be part of an offer. Not to sell, but to give an option to be able to purchase, again, subject to providing an approved development agreement. And in exchange, the city, receives a property.
The key here is that we have to approve the development agreement.
Right, so essentially the kind of the guardrails for it, right, is the property is being given up, but in return, the RDA will be receiving development on that project. So the property won't just go, be transferred and sit vacant, but will require some sort of action and development to be approved and moving forward in order for the property to actually change hands.
C6 says we probably can be undone.
I'm sorry.
Gonna be undone, should it not?
Essentially, if the option term expires and a development agreement doesn't move forward, then yeah, then the ownership still remains with the RDA. So essentially what you're granting today is just kind of an option on it so that it's exclusive to the other party in the real estate transaction, and they can pursue options to be able to get some sort of development agreement in place on it. And know that it won't be obligated in any other way, but they have a timeline of 2 years within to do that, so it's not forever.
I would just suggest we go into closed session, just to make sure we better understand, because we're dealing with a lot of hypotheticals.
Sure,
and
yep,
so
yep, absolutely.
I'd rather be more clear.
All right.
So I'd make the motion that we go into closed session.
Do we have the closed session? Oh, we do. Oh, yeah, there it is.
We have a motion and a second.
Right, then we gotta read the.
Whoever makes that motion.
Oh, do I read that before we then approve going into that? Okay, the committee may convene in closed session pursuant to Wisconsin statute 19.851 for purposes of deliberating or negotiating the sale of public properties, investing of funds, or conducting other specified public business necessary for competitive or bargaining reasons. The committee will thereafter reconvene in open session pursuant to Wisconsin statutes 9.852 to take action on items discussed in closed session if appropriate and to consider the remainder of the agenda.
And there's a second, to go to closed session. All those in favor of going into closed session, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. So.
Debbie, wait.
Oh, start back to.
We don't need to read any big, long honking thing now.
No. Big hug.
Meeting test is done.
Right. I've done that for a while, so. I'm glad we went back to a session that could then make a lot more sense. Now we understand why we're doing what we're doing. That's very good. All right, we are back to open session. I'll entertain a motion based on the discussion we had in closed session.
So move. And I'll
Second. We got a motion and a second to approve a 2-year option to purchase that includes an approved development agreement. Yeah, wow. I know we were just talking about, it's parcel 6-475 vacant lot, 16 feet to be utilized, consideration and purchase of property by the city. Motions, there's a motion and a second, all those in favor of the motion, signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, motion carried, thank you. Informational, I didn't have any questions. In regard to the plan. I don't know if anybody else did. If not, the director's report, please.
I think you received our updates in the packet. If you have any questions about anything going on, we've got our special meeting on the 3rd for the Henry Public Market development and being invented, and then my goal is to try to get all of the RDA items on September 3rd, so we won't need that September 10th meeting. That's my goal. Can't make promises, but
Everybody got it on their calendar, September 3rd?
Yep.
Good. Good. I didn't have any questions with regard to what you sent us.
RFPs are due back at the end of August for our 200 Monroe site and our Chicago Monroe site, so hopefully we'll get a lot of. There's interest in that.
We get some, oh, good. Good.
That's happening. Really, I can, we're working on it in the statutes.
That's the
Corner and. For closing.
good. Anything exciting?
Nothing to report today.
Okay. Leah, is she on?
Yep.
Leah, please. Any comments, what's happening? Military? She's not.
She unmuted,
Oh, you can.
but we can't hear her.
Leo, she's not there.
Well, yeah, we can't hear you if you're talking.
Can't try to mute herself, right? Or
She is unmuted, I just.
Mm-hmm.
Leo, are you there? I mean, okay, you both didn't hear either, I see. Okay, all right, with that in mind, I entertain a motion, the next meeting, September third.
Before we conclude, just
Yeah,
a
please.
quick thing.
Oh, I'm sorry, you're here.
Ribbon cutting for the city east project, I don't know if folks have been made aware of that. But United Way has scheduled a ribbon cutting for that development, so that's September 10th. We can forward that along to the RDA, if you haven't received it. And then probably a week or two before that, actually, we'll be doing a groundbreaking on the JBS development.
Oh,
Associated with that, the 28th, that was approved today. So, so stay tuned for that.
excellent. Full of excellent projects. Thanks for inviting us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can understand. Okay, the next meeting is September 3rd. And the regular would be September 10th. Subject to Cheryl's magic. We might have this, all done in the third. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Okay, I got a motion and a second to adjourn, all those in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned, thank you.
Good job. Good job.